Today we're going to be going over our East to West Alta. It is a 2600 KRB, and we are going to be starting right up front here, basically with our tongue jack. With the tongue jack, you do have a light feature, so if you had to hook up at night, you're able to see. But then this is how you're going to be able to raise the camper up and down. This is how we get on and off the tow vehicle, and also how we level the front to the back. I do like to recommend, while we are still hooked to the tow vehicle, you would like to make sure you're level from side to side first. They do have little stick-on levels on that you can put on the front and on the side of the coach. We do like to recommend using a carpenter's level right inside the doorway, but you may have to put blocks down on one side or the other. Let that tow vehicle roll on, use the tow vehicle to roll onto those blocks. Once you have unhooked, then you level front to back with these guys. Then you're going to lower your stabilizer jacks, and they are nice and motorized, and they're located on this. The switch is going to be on this side. I'll show you guys that here in just a few moments. Next, we're going to have our propane tanks. You got two 20-pound tanks. These guys have both been filled, minus what was used to test the propane system with. But then this guy up here is going to be your regulator. Basically, this generally tells us what tank we're using with that little notch right there, but it also tells us when the canister is empty. Right now it's reading green because it is sensing propane from this tank. This tank. Got it backwards. But once this tank is empty, this would turn red, showing that this tank is empty. The nice thing about this regulator is it is actually designed to where if you have both tanks on, once the one tank is empty, it will start pulling from the other tank. The only thing though is that you don't know that this tank is empty unless you come out and look at this regulator. Then back behind there, we're gonna have our batteries. They're two 27 series batteries. All right, we're gonna come around to the side over here. So inside here, you're going to have your manual cranks over here on your wall. One for the tongue jack, the other one for the slide room. And then I am going to steal our camera, and I'm going to sneak inside here real quick so we can kind of show you guys this inside here. Basically, when you go to winterize your coach, this is what you're going to do. You're going to have to take off this panel located right here at the time. But then this hose here is what's going to go into your gallon jugs of antifreeze. Then you're going to turn this line here so that it is in line with this hose, and then we're going to shut off this line so that when you turn your pump on, it's not trying to pull from the fresh water tank. And then basically from there, you're ready to winterize your coach using the water pump. There is no bypassing of your water heater because it is considered to be an on-demand style water heater. And we'll talk a little more about that when we step inside. We did notice during our PDI that we did find that they put shutoff valves on the back of the water heater, but they are honestly not supposed to be there, so you will never really turn those valves. All right, in our controlled area here, you're gonna have a 110 hookup, cable and satellite hookup, so if you got campground cable, you wanna turn off the TV antenna booster, and I'll show you that inside. This guy here is gonna be for your front cap lights. Those guys were on already. Down here is going to be your battery disconnect. Basically what this guy is, when you're storing your camper, you're just going to pull this key out, and it's going to disconnect the camper from the battery. So if anything was left on, it wouldn't potentially drain the batteries on you. Nice thing though is that you do have a solar panels on top. This guy here is just a controller, so it just monitors the battery. Once the battery gets below a certain level, it'll automatically allow that current from the panels to come through to charge the battery for you. And then once it senses the battery's full, it shuts that circuit back off. Then you're going to have an outside spray port area, option to hot and cold water, and it has just a quick connect. And then you're going to have your freshwater hookup. So with this is basically your pressure feeding the freshwater tank. You always do want to make sure you use a pressure regulator so too strong a water pressure doesn't damage the lines. You do want to read the monitor panel inside for when it does read full, you know to shut the water off. And I'm going to show you where the breather and drain tubes and all that is in just a second. Next, we're going to have our city water hookup. So with this guy, you do want to have a pressure regulator on the water spigot. From there, your options of an inline water filter and then your blue or white water drinking hose. Hook up to this guy and you're going to be ready to use your water system. This guy here is considered to be a motion sensor light. So on the bottom here, there's going to be a 1 hash mark, a circle, and a 2 hash mark. The 1 hash mark, the light will continuously stay on. The 2 hash mark is the motion sensor setting. Your compartment door locks is going to be operated with the gray key. Right here, as you see, it says freshwater drain. So down below, you're going to see these 2 blue tubes right here. So one is your breather tube, one is the overflow tube. So if you wasn't paying attention and the tank is full, the water will start coming out of those tubes. And then to drain that fresh water tank is going to be located right back here. Just by turning that up, as you see, we had a little bit of water still in there. So we're going to go ahead and open that up and drain that guy out. Then right here is going to be where your controls are to lower your stabilizer jacks. But basically, each switch is for each side. So this one here is going to be for closest to us. Your other one is going to be for the other side. And you also do have these located in the back for the rear stabilizer jacks. All right. While I'm also down here, pretty much right here, you're gonna have one of your sewer hookups. This guy is just your galley tank, basically your kitchen sink. Your drain for him is gonna be located right underneath, right here. Right now that's open. We're gonna go ahead and close that guy. Slap that cap on. All right. So we will talk about our tires on the other side where we can see them. One thing to kind of note with your slide room is that you have what they like to call a through frame style slide. So over time, this guy will start to make noise on you. So when that happens, all you're gonna do is get like a silicone lubricant or dry silicone lubricant. And you're gonna lubricate both of these guys on both sides, the top, the sides, and the gears. And then you also wanna go ahead and lubricate the spindle here in the back. Run the room a couple of times and it'll quiet it down for you. Then we're gonna have our other sewer connection hook up here, and our valves are gonna be located right over here. Your gray handle for the gray tank, which is gonna be your bathroom sink and shower, and then the black is just your toilet. So when you go to dump, you're always gonna start with the black tank first. You're gonna hook up your sewer hose, make sure it's in the ground, and then you're gonna pull that black tank handle. From there, you're gonna do your black tank flush, which is located on the back of the coach here. I'm gonna show you guys that in just a moment. But most of your sewer hoses will have a clear elbow on the end of them. Basically, that's so you can see when that water's coming out clean and clear. When you're doing your flush, you know to shut that water off. You're always gonna shut that off at the spigot and unhook your hose from that spigot. But we'll talk a little more about that in just a second. Once you're done with the black tank, you're gonna close that guy. Then you would open and pull your gray to dump your gray. You always do the tanks one at a time. You don't want it to try to backfeed into that gray tank because then that nastiness will start smelling through. We just don't want any of that. Here's our switches for our rear stabilizers, where we're going to hook up our 50 amp power cord that does come with the coach. You're able to remove your bumper cap ends so you can store your sewer hose. The only thing it will not hold is the clear elbow that comes with the sewer hose. What I always like to recommend is get yourself like an ice cream, one of the plastic ice cream containers. We're going to have a good day eating ice cream. But once you're done, you're able to store that in that container, and then that way you can store it up front and it ain't gonna roll around and get a bunch of stuff nasty. Next, we're gonna have our ladder to the roof, and it's meant to go up and inspect the roof only. Basically looking at that sealant to make sure no air bubbles have occurred, or over time it starts drying out and cracking. When that happens, you want to clean the surface and you can put new lap sealant down. They just recommend you can do that 2 to 3 times, but then after that, they do recommend you want to completely remove all that sealant and put fresh sealant over it. The ladder's weight limit is only 250 pounds. We got our spare tire. It does have the option for an aftermarket observational backup camera. And then basically this guy here is the back of your water heater. And the only thing I really got to show you in here is that you got your on and off switch here. Basically, this is for whenever you go to winterize your coach. You want to turn this off so it isn't trying to heat that antifreeze as it's cycling through. When you go to close this guy, you always got to position that guy just right before it's closed, and then this just locks. Right here is going to be that black tank flush I was talking about. So with this black tank flush, I do always like to recommend that you would also have a pressure regulator on the spigot. And then go out and buy yourself a black hose. Black tank, black hose, it keeps it nice and simple for you. Then you're gonna hook it up, make sure your termination valve is open. That's what our caution sticker here is for. And then we're gonna start flushing once that tank has been dumped. Once that water's coming out clear, you shut it off at the spigot and then unhook the hose from the spigot. The reason why is because on the back side of this is a hose that from this long to this long or even longer to a plastic check valve. Too strong of water can damage that plastic check valve. That's why you want to use the pressure regulator. You also have another spray port here on the back side. You're able to hook up, spray your feet off from like mud, sand, anything along those lines. This is just tied into the cold water though. You do have an area where you're able to hook up for your dog leash. Right here is labeled as your low point drain. So underneath here is pretty much what they consider to be the lowest points of the water lines inside the coach. So when you go to winterize, you would open those guys up to help get all the water out of the coach. If you do all that, you're able to get by with doing this with probably 2 to 3 gallons. I like to also, during the summertime when you're using the coach, when you're done, I always like to recommend go ahead and open those guys up. Open up a faucet, usually the furthest faucet. As you go home, that air is going to blow through those lines and push any excess water out so you wouldn't get any water that's left in there and becomes stagnant or bad. You got a little storage compartment underneath your steps here that is going to be your 751 key. And then your purple key here is going to be for your entry door. Basically for the door handle itself, you're going to turn the key to the right and that locks the door handle itself. For the deadbolt, you're turning the key to the left. If you try to pull the key out, it ain't going to let you. You got to bring it back up and down to do that. If you turn it to the right like you're going to lock it, but you're able to pull that key out, it shows you did not lock your deadbolt. We're going to come back and talk about these steps here in just a moment. We do have our outside speakers on. I don't know if you guys can hear those right now. We'll talk about a little about that more when we go inside. But then out here, we're just going to have our little mini fridge, able to set your temperatures here. This is 110 only, so you do have to be plugged into Sure Power for this to have power. All right, so with our tires, and you even got a notice sticker here, that generally is telling you want to check your lug nuts at 50, 100, 200 miles. And you always do want to make sure that these guys are torqued to, I believe these are 110 foot-pounds. You also, what I like to say is that when you leave the campground, first place we stop is usually a gas station to refuel. As we're refueling, we can check the lug nuts. We're knocking out 2 birds with 1 stone. You also do want to make sure that you always keep the tires topped off to their max PSI level. Nice thing is these are Goodyear, and they actually put it in nice, good sized letters so you can see what it is instead of trying to look at those itty bitty little letters. So you see these guys are at 80 PSI. You also got the green caps to show that you guys have nitrogen in the tires. If they start getting low, you can put regular air in them. It's not going to hurt them. If you ever decide though that you do want to have nitrogen put back in them, and you go to a place that does do that, let them know that air has been put into those tires so they know to purge them. They do give you a 110 hookup and you're able to hook your TV up outside. And we got our TV mount right here. I added silicone to the screw holes to help try to protect that a little better. Next, we're going to have our furnace. Basically, with this guy, we're not trying to block these so it can probably breathe. Basically, your intake and your outtake. Do like to recommend getting mud dauber screens to put over this. Helps keep wasps and mud daubers out of there and prevents them from building nests and create issues. Then here on the other side, we got our other side of our storage area where we do have a 110 hookup in here as well. And then this light here you would turn on and off with a center push button. All right. So next is going to be our steps here. One thing with the steps is you do need to try to make sure this door is open all the way when you go to put the steps up or bring them down. The wind's kind of breezy today, so I got to... Basically, these guys here Let's go, and it locks right in. Up here is going to be where you can adjust your feet. And the reason for that, we're going to bring this guy down, is that you do want to try to have this as flat with the threshold as possible. Too much of an elevation can cause both issues with the screen door and entry door. Alright, as we step inside, slide our keys to the other side, we're going to have our fire extinguisher located right to the left of the entry door. You're going to have your little closet area here. Motion sensor light, as you see, it just popped on. You do also have one right above our head. When you go to shut your door, use that handle there. This wants to open the door, and you got your deadbolt. Alright, so then we're going to have our control panel here when we come in. It tells you the status of your battery. Fresh tank, as you see, it's still draining, but we got about 2/3 of water in there. But our black's empty, gray 1 and gray 2. I believe the other tech that was also working on this unit said that gray 1 was the bathroom and gray 2 was our kitchen. Then we have our water pump. You're only using the water pump if you're hooked to fresh water. If you're hooked to city water, you do not need this. Then we got our interior lights, our awning lights, and our S-tinted lights that are above the slide. Then we have the switch to bring our slide room in and out, and then to bring our awning in and out. I'm going to try to bring this guy out here. It is a little breezy today. And as you see, this guy is not the fastest guy in the world, so make sure you do got plenty of time. Basically, you're going to bring it out so that flap is basically horizontal or vertical with the ground. And then right out here, you're going to grab right here and you're able to adjust the pitch on it. This guy is meant to be as a shade protectant, and it is recommended when the camper is not being occupied, the awning should be brought in. A sudden strong gust of winds or a pop-up storm can damage both your awning and your camper if you are not careful. Go ahead and bring that guy back in. Once again, he is not the fastest guy in the world. Alright, so next you're going to have behind the TV, it's pre-prepped for Wi-Fi. You got your 110, and then your booster. So once again, like I was saying, if you're trying to get the campground cable, you have to turn this booster off by pushing that button. It disconnects the antenna from here, so that cable signal feed will come through. And they do have a hole right up here as well, so if you wanted to try to stick a Blu-ray player, as long as it's not too massive up in here, or a DVD player or anything along those lines. Next, we're going to have our TV. Don't get mad at it because sometimes it has an attitude. Haha.
Oh, it is an attitude TV. It says right on it. I didn't even notice. Oh, it says it in big letters too.
So it's got problems. It'll give you an attitude every now and then.
And there is an I in attitude.
This guy is considered to be a smart style TV, so we're just going to take a second while it boots up. Basically, it does give you options for Netflix, YouTube. It's going to have a couple different app options as well that you can download, things along that nature. We do not connect it to the Wi-Fi. I've actually experienced before when I tried to connect the TV to the Wi-Fi, it had to do an update, and then 6 hours later it was still updating. That was my one and only time I actually hooked up a TV to the Wi-Fi. So basically we're going to get just our local over-the-air channels. I believe it picked up, he said 43 channels is what it picked up. So it's not too bad, but basically what you would do is when you get to a new area, you're gonna have to scan for channels. You're gonna press your menu button there. Come on, menu. It's gotta think about it for a minute. Come on. There it goes. See, and then right there, go to auto tuning. Nice and simple. Then this guy here is going to be the remote for your radio. So we heard the radio outside. It's going to be on speaker zone 2. Speaker zone 1 is going to be the inside speakers here. You got your volume controls here on the right side. Change your stations on the left. It's got a couple different modes. You're able to like hook your TV up to it, or your DVD player, or anything along that. You can hook up to it, and then you can be able to get sound to come through these guys as well. And then down below is going to be our fireplace. So with the fireplace, your controls are located down here. You're going to have your power. You're able to adjust the lights on the rocks. Your temperature setting is going to be the very far end. And then this guy here is for the brightness of the flame. We do have our air conditioner running, so I'd have to shut that off here, and we could, we go ahead and actually do that real quick. We just press and shut that guy off real fast. And you should be able to. So then we're going to have that guy on. Like I said, you can change the color of the rocks. Ooh, pretty. Color of the brightness of it to off. And then you got your temperature setting where you got, it'll go pretty darn high there. It looks like 91, 92, 93. Holy smokes. I'll go up to 99 degrees and then just on. Or you can just turn it off where you can have that ambiance view if you wanted to as well. And as you see, since we turned it off, that's not lit up right now. Alright, next we're going to have our fridge. This is a 12 volt style fridge. And as you see here at the top, it says it's a multi-airflow. So you're actually you can, if you wanted to, adjust this to where it will start cooling down the fridge part as well. And then they say this is your recommended setting, but on them warmer days you might actually have to turn this up a little bit. And then it will go down below. Oh. Just so you people don't get confused, up here is where your door handle is. Right here is what it locks into. Even myself, try to use that to open the door sometimes. Then inside here, you're actually able to adjust the temperature of the fridge as well. When we first turn it on, I like to have it on 4 or 5 to get it good and cold. And then usually 3 is a pretty good setting right there. It's not pulling as much power. So if you for some reason left this on, or you're trying to use the solar panels and Mood Dot camping, what you do is you want to turn this over to the 1, but basically it tells you that this fridge is practically empty. So it's only trying to pull 9 volts at that time. And then you got 10 volts and 11 volts, 2 and 3. But to shut it off, you're just going to press and hold for 10 seconds. Just like that. Now you see these 2 lights come on and it tells you it's off. And then our manual for that is located in that very bottom drawer. You got a drawer space down below there. Up here is going to be our microwave. Pretty self-explanatory with the microwave. I do like to say set the timer. And if you guys go out, you come back, you see the time ain't set, that means there was a power failure at the campsite. You want to find out if it was from the campground or from the electric company. Next, we got our hood range for our light and our fan. Sounds like a gen engine a little bit. Then we got our stove. Back here behind the stove, these little slotted areas here, you're able to actually store knives there. Nice little feature. This guy does have to be folded up when you go to cook on the stove. And basically this guy here is going to be your spark igniter. You're going to turn and spark. This guy's going to stay lit for me for probably somewhere between 8 to 10 seconds. But we did turn off the propane, so it's going to basically run out of propane and just die out on it. Oh wait, no, I didn't turn that one off, so it's not going to. The last one on the far side is going to be for the oven. You're going to turn it to that flame icon, push and hold it in, and then light. Once it's lit, keep it held in for 5 to 7 seconds. Then you're able to set your temperature. And then this guy here just lights it up, gives you a little ambiance, and it's also the light for the oven. Down below is going to be where our fuse control panel box is located. So basically anything that operates off of 110 or Sure Power, you got to be plugged in, and that's going to be on the breakers. Everything that runs off the battery is going to be the fuses up here on top. And they do have everything right here labeled for you for which one is which. Pretty much got more storage space up top. You got your drawers right here. Inside here is going to be our owner's manual. Basically it has most of the manuals for the appliances in the coach. A lot of manufacturers are now going paperless. So you'll go online, download an app, and you're able to put in your camper information, and you download a PDF file specifically for your camper, or for that model of your camper. Then we got the sink area here where you got the nice double style cutting boards. You got the graded one and then the solid. Very nice features. This guy here is going to be for your on-demand water heater. Oh, I turned my switch off outside. Basically though, you're able to turn it on and off from here. You're able to adjust the temperatures. And then you can change it between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I believe these guys are or you could set them as high as, I believe it's 123 or 124. Next is going to be our thermostat here. Press and hold that power button to turn it on. So right now it's showing us cool, and our fan speed is set at A for auto. You can press the fan button, change it to low speed, low fan or high fan, but the air is just going to continuously run and won't shut off to your desired set temperature. After that, you got your heat. It's propane only, but then you would set your desired set temperature. It only goes as high as 86. After that, you got just the fans. And then you have a dry feature. So basically with this dry feature, what this is that that's meant to be used when there's a lot of high humidity, and it allows it for the air conditioner to run but not get overran where it can start freezing up. So it'll run for about 10 minutes and then shuts off for 6 minutes. So we are going to go right back here to furnace or for the heat real fast. So with your fan speed, right now it says O for off. Okay, if you were to turn this to low or high, the fan on your air conditioner is going to come on. Okay? I've heard many complaints, people calling in the winter saying that their air conditioner is running while their furnace is running. There's also an auto. Basically, you just want that in that off position, so it's just the furnace that runs. We ain't wanting the furnace, so we're turning it back to the air conditioner.
Good idea.
You do also have a extendable countertop edge. I always got to watch myself, and you should watch yourself as well. Those guys can and will pinch you. You do have to make sure that this is brought down before you bring your slide room in. Alright, next we got our latch for the door, so you're able to close the door. Our light switch for the bedroom is located right over here on this side wall. On each side of the bed, you're going to have your little closet area here. Each got 2 drawers. Each side also has 110s and USB hookups. And then in the back, you got a little cubby space there. That's designed for so you can set your phone there or CPAP machines. Then you also do got storage up above. I feel like I'm having to talk over that guy. But I don't want to fully close him just a little bit. And then you got 2 individual reader lights. And then you do also have storage under your bed. So basically in here you can put yourself like a little dog bed here, and then you got a little extra drawer space underneath here as well. Over here on this side we got our TV mounts there. Then we have our fire exit window. So if you're unable to make it to the door to get out in case of a fire, basically this guy flings all the way open. It's on a hinge, so it can swing all the way open. This tab here, so that it's these eyes, so you can pull the screen out. I just look at it. If there's a fire, just try to get out of the coach. I ain't worried about getting the screen replaced, honestly. All right, so then next we're gonna have our little dinette area. As you see, I kind of got our cushions up right now. This is because this can also be folded down into a bed. To do so, you're going to release your leg, lift that guy up, tilt it down just a little bit, and you're able to pull it from those grooves right there. From there, it's just gonna sit right here on this. These guys will sit inside, and then you put your cushions here, right here on over the bed to fill in the void. And it's probably close to about a full size. We'll put this guy back on, and then it even tells you right there, attention, table must travel in the upright position attached to the wall, okay? As you see, they provide a strap so that you're able to even strap the table down so it does not bounce as it goes down the road. What do I do? I rip it right off. Straighten that guy up. Alright, this guy here is turned on and off by this center push button right here. And then you got your pretty much your recliners. Each side has its own own light for each side. Cup holders. To extend the recliner part, there's handles on each side over here to bring that guy out. You also got storage here. And this is actually where the remotes are going to go. Right there. Alright, we're going to backtrack for just 2 seconds. I knew I forgot something because he was hiding underneath here. Right down here is going to be your LP/carbon monoxide detector. This guy is recommended that it's tested every 9 to 14 days. And all you got to do is simply push this button right here to perform the test. Go off again. I believe this one will make a different sound as well. And that's all there is to taking that test, or to do that test. These guys have a life expectancy of 7 to 10 years. I have seen them go out before that. A lot of the times you got to remove this to see when the manufacturer date was. I believe this window actually puts the manufacturer date on the front here so you're able to see. And then right here, there's a little dog food tray. Basically, if this guy does go off, you do want to take emergency precautions. First person out the door is going to turn off the propane at the canisters. The second person out is trying to get anything that breathes out of the camper, trying to open some windows. We are not trying to turn on any vent fans, okay? We're not trying to create an electrical spark. Then we're going to get 50 feet away for about 15 minutes. After a 15-minute time frame, one person's going to come back in the coach. First place they want to look is the stove. A lot of the times, you'll have someone over here just leaning against these knobs. You know, they slide around or do something along those lines and you can just turn a knob. Like I started to partially turn it a little bit. But please, just, if that's the case, we're good. If you guys see that it's not stove, you turn on propane, it does start going off again. The only other place that propane actually comes into your coach where it's hooked up is the furnace. So it's either going to be the stove or the furnace. Alright. Next there, now we're going back our other direction. We got our other latch here for the bathroom door. We got our guy here. Whenever you go to open this from the inside, you got to pull it forward a little bit, pull it towards you to release, and it'll slide back. Pretty much with your shower, it's got this little sprayer guy on here. This was usually designed for the water heaters that are gas or gas electric, where they're usually only 6 gallons. So you'd have to reduce the flow of water. The nice thing is you do have that on-demand water heater, so you don't necessarily have to use that switch all the time. You do got storage here for your towels, bath utensils, or bathing items, anything along those lines. Then we're going to have our toilet here. So with the toilet, you always do want to make sure there's a little bit of water in that bowl so that seal doesn't get dry rotted or brittle. You would lightly press on this pedestal. You're able to add some water. All the way down, it's going to flush. And then I always like to recommend if you take some non-stick cook spray, spray the bowl of that toilet. It helps everything slide down and makes it easier clean for the cleaner. All I usually say is don't confuse kitchen pan with the bathroom pan. It's a little unsanitary. Like I said, we had this panel taken off just because we do like to check for things, and they have unnecessary valves in there. You guys would never have to mess with those valves since it's an on-demand. It has to be winterized as well. Okay? Then you got your little giant-sized medicine cabinet. You do have storage down below as well. Our GFCI is located right inside here, so if there's some outlets that are not operating, take a look at this guy, make sure he hasn't been tripped. And then we got our switch here to turn it on and off. And we do have the exhaust fan up top. You open it, turn on your switch. All right, and then from there, we have made our way back to the door. Hopefully this video is knowledgeable and informational for you. If you guys do have any kind of questions, please feel free to call us and we'll do our best to answer those for you over the phone. Thank you and have a wonderful day.